Well, jeepers! You're listening to Smash or Pass.
Hey everyone, welcome to another video on the JV
and
Millie channel. Today we are going to be reviewing the brand new Scooby Doo movie, Trick or Treat Scooby Doo. Now before we get into this, spoilers.
Before we get into the spoilers,
Yeah, JV.
Oh yes, oh gosh, I was a bit thrown off there. So if you have not seen Trick or Treat Scooby Doo,
Pause
then
this video.
we do recommend pausing this video, watching the movie, and then coming back and listening to this. However, if you're reaching for some Trick or Treat content and you do care about spoilers, we do have a non-spoiler video out, which I'll link in the description down below. But if you don't care about spoilers, then just listen to this anyway. You know, like, there's going to be spoilers here, full spoilers, nothing held back. So please, like, if you do care about spoilers, stop here. Stop in the name of love, because we're going to be all up in this. We're going to go to town. So.
Okay, so this is your last chance. 3, 2, 1. Spoiler time. Okay, JB. Tell me your thoughts on the opening mystery.
Honestly, I think it was kind of pants, but I don't think it needed to be anything special.
It was just there to serve a purpose. Get them into the movie, warm them up.
It was we need an outfit to be analysed. Let's just have some fun with it, and it was some fun. Like, it wasn't boring. Good chase scene, and it just served its purpose. Like, I think there's not much to it, but I did like how a lot of times they kind of rumble the villain's plan. Like in the Courage movie, they left before the clown really got unmasked because they were busy, and I think that that's fun. But here I think it's almost better that they weren't just sidetracked by something. It was a deeper purpose. Like, they were not just happening upon a mystery, they were actively going investigating, which I think is a cool vibe for Mystery Inc. That they're Mystery Inc. for a reason. They're not just unlucky kids that stumble upon villains. They're literal detectives at the start of this, which is great.
Certainly. Now, what do you think to this premise of the fact they want to track down the costume designer? Ultimately, I really like it, because do you know what we've done? I can't even tell you how many reviews we've done at this point. And a lot of the time, it comes down to the costumes aren't feasible. If you look at it realistically, we've said this so many times, like, that wouldn't have happened because of this. I'm gonna say it's a valid plot because it's a point that's been raised by many people.
I mean, it does draw into question the timeline. Not that you get too bogged down with the timeline, but they must be relatively fresh off these classic villains to care about, like, what's causing them. But then you got the 10,000 Volt Ghost that was featured in the Scooby Doo show. So, you know, and again, an important thing to note about this is that it's not Crystal Cove. There's no Crystal Cove to be seen in this. It's Coolsville.
And I appreciate that.
So I think what we're dealing with in terms of that is two separate timelines, like people have theorized. Crystal Cove timeline, Coolsville timeline. This is following on from the classic Where Are You series and I guess the Scooby-Doo show. So maybe this isn't even canon to all the, you know, the Sword and the Scoob stuff. I guess it doesn't really matter, but it's interesting, and I do like the concept because, again, it just gives them something to investigate rather than Mystery Machine rolls into anonymous location and stuff happens.
And I'm gonna say this movie serves very well with fanfare. So what was your thoughts on having that flashback sequence of the original series?
I thought it was really good, and the thing is, I thought I would have been blocked out because we've almost got used to treating that original series very recently as not a job but as a task. Like, we need to watch this to make notes on it, we need to make a review on it, you know. And so I would have thought that any callbacks to that would have soured me almost, because going back to it, I don't think I had much fun reviewing, especially that first season. But realizing the legacy of it, looking back, you know, all these years later, and contrasting the two, it definitely did, you know, give me a lot of nostalgic vibes, which I wasn't expecting because I didn't really watch the original show that much as a child.
For me, the big nostalgia kick is when we see the 1000 Volt Ghost costume light up.
Yes, because
that for me sparked something.
Because they did it exactly the same how it was done in the Scooby Doo show. Same animation, same movement, but it was done with, you almost didn't expect it. Like, someone was presented a new costume and you think, okay, that's a spooky costume, and then it's activated and you're like, oh wow, it's that. Like, I don't know, they just did it right. It almost felt like a cinematic movie in that scene and in the whole opening, because we then find out that all that is a ruse. And once again, Mystery Inc. aren't just kind of, you know, accidental heroes in this. They're actively going out and solving mysteries.
Well,
They're almost doing a sting operation at the start.
This is something I really like about Shaggy and Scooby's character in this moment, is you never think about them being the brains of the operation, but it's them that's trying to deceive the costume designer Coco here. They're the one that's putting on the act, and it also shows greater awareness for what's going on, because normally it's just they see the villain and they're scared, but here they can actually relate and understand that the villain's somebody who normally has some kind of financial investment in land, and they're trying to get the land reduced, and it just shows them to be a bit more developed than we normally see. I found it really refreshing and genuinely really enjoyed this opening. The one thing that I didn't like, which goes on to be rectified later and we will get to that, but it's a bit when Daphne's just like, oh, what's my part in this? I don't do anything. And it's kind of like, oh, please tell me we're not still stuck here.
Yeah, like, I was impressed because, like you say, like, the word development is the perfect word, because Shaggy and Scooby aren't changed at all. They're very much exactly who they've always been, and even down to, I think, dressing up as this fake person, because every time there's always, like, it's Shaggy and Scooby, you know, be the bait. Shaggy and Scooby lure the villain out so we can trap them, and that's exactly what they're doing here, but smarter. Like, this isn't just a case of let's make a load of noise and get the villain to chase us so Fred can net the villain. It's, okay, here's a disguise, here's a plan, you're still the bait, you're still, you know, the kind of wiggly worm at the end of the hook for the villain, but it's done like a spy movie or like a real detective show. So I just like how they didn't have to change their role in the plan to make it a smarter plan. So I'm very happy. Yeah,
and ultimately all this was the guys for the gang to meet up with the costume designer Coco. So, JB,
What?
Velma meets Coco.
Velma does meet Coco.
Tell us.
So,
ultimately, Velma seems impressed with what she sees.
See, I don't want to say that because the Scooby series has dipped around this so much.
Okay, so
I don't want to. Velma,
let me say this then, okay?
has a lesbian crush on Coco Diablo.
Okay, hear me out here. I think they developed this well within the episode because, honestly, initially, it isn't 100% set out. What's set out is she likes the glasses, she likes the hair, she likes the turtleneck. And it's like, okay, Warner Brothers have always done little like indications and little clues and hints that Velma may be capable of developing a crush for a female. And it's never been confirmed, and it wasn't in this initial scene. It was merely confirmed that there was elements that she admired.
Yeah.
But for anybody who has been backing that, you know, we start to see this side of Velma, this bit will have got you. Like, this will have got you invested in this movie a bit more.
But you got to be impressed with the willingness to dive into it, because honestly, they could have included that scene and that's it. We didn't need any more. Now, there's a word for it that I don't know that I'm allowed to say it, so I'm not going to say it. There's a phrase about the LGBTQ plus community, which starts with the Q word, right? I don't know if I'm allowed to say it, but they refer to the act of teasing someone with this type of character development as Q word baiting. Now, characters like Will Byers, you know, Stranger Things, is always accused of it because you get enough hints that he does have a crush on Mike, but so much so that it doesn't confirm it. So a lot of people have become cynical, like they're just using that implication to score points without committing to it, you know, socially and, you know, for that appeasement.
Well,
whereas here, they could do that.
As we get into the episode, let's see if they have just Q-baited it.
But they could have done that, and this is what I'm saying. They could have stopped there. Many people would probably want them to have stopped there. But,
most people would have expected them to stop there.
I expected that to be it, because I will admit I did see that clip on Twitter before watching the movie, and I was like, okay, this is going to upset a lot of the purists. but I was not expecting it to continue. So, like Millie said, it might be nothing at this point. It could just be like you admire someone.
One thing I would like to say I admire as well is all this is before the titles. We nearly get a full episode of Scooby before the titles, because at this point JB was like, are we missing something? And no, because the titles start, and honestly, I think they're done exceptionally.
Yeah, it kind of it fits in with the Guess Who style. What they do is they parody the original Scooby Doo Where Are You theme tune in the same way that Guess Who does. But this is, I think, better than the Guess Who titles.
Oh, 1,000,000%.
Because it is parody. It isn't lyrically genius. It doesn't sound better than the original or more iconic at all. But they use it as a way of saying, like, this is the nostalgic feel that the gang's feeling, except there's something not quite right about it. They miss solving all the mysteries, like, and they use the kind of words to describe how the vibe is, and I like it a lot.
For me, it's like the reversed Where Are You intro, because this is about them not having a mystery to solve as opposed to having a mystery. It's great. And I also like how they use it to pass the year, because ultimately you're a year later at the end of it. So it really sets the scene of the gang's life without mysteries. Ultimately, they're quite bored. However, it's coming up to Halloween, and Shaggy and Scooby are really excited that they're going to be able to enjoy themselves. So we see this incredibly zany sequence where they're going as each other for Halloween. They find a house of candy, things turn incredible colours, and ultimately it's revealed to be a dream.
I want to say we called this in our reaction, because when we were looking at the video, we saw Shaggy and Scooby in classic monster outfits, in pumpkin outfits, and dressed up as each other. I think we called it spanning over at least a few years, or there being some type of dream sequence. So I think we called this. Not like it was a massive gotcha, but I think it's cool that we picked up on that.
Yeah. Ultimately, again, I like this sequence. It's building things up nicely. It's progressing the story over time. So Shaggy and Scooby wake up. They plan their costumes for Halloween, for trick-or-treating. And that's when the gang arrive outside in the mystery machine to pick them up. Shaggy and Scooby thinks that, you know, it's to go trick-or-treating early, but of course there's some hijinks to happen before that. So as they're driving along, Fred stops the mystery machine near a well and goes to wish for a mystery, which I think is really nice. It shows some development from his side. I feel like, you know, it shows to him how much the mysteries matter to him individually, not just them as a gang and their dynamic, but also just kind of him.
Yeah, I think I can see some criticism being it sets the gang up as, or at least Fred, it sets Fred up as somewhat of an adrenaline junkie that wants something to happen so he can do something, and not he's just happy that no one needs help. But I think it's just Fred being quirky, you know, like it's funny, it's entertaining. You can make that argument, but, you know, it's fine.
So ultimately, the gang kind of see what's going on and they want to make Fred feel better. So they agree to his concept of creating a promo booth for Mystery Inc. to make people aware of what they do to hopefully attract more mysteries. So as they're setting things up at the fair, Shaggy and Scooby go to find more, like, kind of clients, really. And as they do, they go apple bobbing, and this is where we see the ghost, the villain of this episode. Now, my initial thoughts, they look pretty horrific.
Yeah, they look scarier than I thought they would have gone. Especially, like, I think the impact almost of how scary they look was taken away from the trailers, just because you don't get the initial, oh my god, look at them, it's okay, this is the villains we're gonna get, we've seen them before from the trailer. But they do such a good job translating them into evil versions of the gang, in that they're so distinct. Like, they're not just evil Shaggy, evil Daphne. It's almost like an alternate take on Daphne if she was evil. Like, they don't just reskin them. They kind of do a take on almost what they would have worn in Edwardian times, except they also happen to be like zombies as well.
At the minute, we've only seen the Fred one, and one thing that I think makes the villain here more intimidating is quite often it's about land, it's about money. Whereas this villain says directly, I'm here for you, Mystery Inc., before blowing up the mystery machine. That hit hard, no?
Yeah. I think it seems more personal. Like, it isn't just... Because, again, when you're dealing with, like, a Scooby Doo land plot, you're expecting it to be in a building, in a fair, on tangible land, like, something that's desirable. Whereas here, it's like... I guess if someone wants to buy some grass for cheap, like obviously land's valuable, but like it's just being used for like a carnival at the moment. I'm sure there's some type of legitimate offer that you can make.
Yeah,
so it does seem more personal.
I mean, that's the thing. Normally you have the ghost giving them a chance saying, go away, leave this place now.
Go away.
Whereas this is just instantly, I'm here for you, Mystery Inc. And it's like, oh, they can't run. So they go to the prison where they are reacquainted with everybody who they have put behind bars, everybody that hates Mystery Inc. The warden, however, is a huge fan, and it is at this point they are reunited with Coco, where Velma admits to Daphne that she has a crush on Coco.
Which, again, that's like...
breaking for Warner Brothers.
And this is like what you have to understand about this isn't just like, oh god, and here's the thing, right? I am not one for making things overly, and this isn't what they've done here in my opinion. I'm not one for making things overly woke, overly let's, you know, appease the millennials. I think one of the more ridiculous stages of like a celebrity doing that is when J.K. Rowling went through that phase of going, you know, this character that was in this one scene, that was a Jewish person. You know, Dumbledore, even though it was never implied in any of the source material, Dumbledore's gay. Like, yes, you can make Dumbledore gay, that's fine. But it's just the revisionism of, look how progressive I am in hindsight. I'm not down for that.
But then, isn't she the same person who said that she disagreed with, like...
Yeah, well, I think she's kind of gone a bit mad. But regardless of her, like, I just don't like the revisionism of, let us score points after the fact, and I think this movie is going to be accused of doing that. And by no means am I a Scooby expert, but I know enough to know that this was the original plan for the first live action movie 20 years ago.
I mean, ultimately...
And in Mystery Incorporated, like 10 years ago.
Ultimately, as you say, it is clear as day in Mystery Incorporated to anybody who doesn't try and turn a blind eye. A lot of people are in denial about stuff like this, and so they do turn a blind eye. They try not to acknowledge it. They try not to admit it. I think people did that with Mystery Incorporated, but to anybody seeing it objectively, it was clear as day that this is what they were aiming for.
Yeah, this isn't just hashtag let's get points from Generation TikTok. This has been like part of Velma's background for 20 plus years at this point.
Yeah, like you say, 20 years. Like 20 years ago, there was a scene recorded for Velma to have her first kiss with Daphne. And like, if you rewatch the 2002 movie and Daphne and Velma switch back souls, you'll see neither one of them appear on the screen when this happens, because they had to cut that at the last minute because Warner Brothers weren't brave enough to do it then. They weren't brave enough to do it in Mystery Incorporated.
Even though that's what the creators wanted, what Mitch Watson told us in the interview that we did with him, that was the plan that he and Tony Savoni got, and they weren't allowed to go all the way with it. So again, they're gonna be accused of, oh, everything has to be woke nowadays, but it's just...
They've been trying to do this for 20 years, and it's the first time they have had the guts to do it.
And I want to say that this is proof, like, yes, things may seem more woke nowadays. I will admit there's more LGBTQ plus things. There's more coloured people going into the roles that you would typically assume of being white roles. But it's like, when you think about the Velma thing that's been in production for 20 years, 21 years more, this perhaps is the first time that, say, 30-year-long or 20-year-long or even like 10-year-long plans have been able to go through. So just think, for all things might seem like they're happening all of a sudden now, a lot of these things have been in the works for a while, and it's like, imagine that, shot 21 years ago for the first live action movie. Some people watching this may not even be 21 years old, so
there's a lot of people who we've spoken to that have written for Velma who are going to be celebrating today.
Morgan Baden, who wrote the Daphne and Velma books. Velma had a crush on Thorn.
Wasn't it one of the Hex girls had a crush on Velma? Velma had a crush on Fred.
Did she?
Yeah.
Well, there's stuff going on.
Like, this is something that's been explored by many people and that's been shut down in many cases as well. Ultimately, lots of people have heroed this, a lot of people have championed this, and a lot of people have tried to bring this in sooner. And ultimately, I guess, for a lot of people, it's a big celebration.
I will say this, though. I don't want, and I didn't want, a Velma and Coco relationship. I didn't want the relationship drama, and I don't even want Velma to go to those lengths, because unless it's part of another show like Mystery Incorporated, if they do Mystery Incorporated season 3, 100% I want to see a hot dog water relationship and how that progresses. But for these like straight to video movies, I don't think it needs to be bogged down with stuff like this. Like, again, maybe this Velma headcanon has been a thing for a while, but equally so has Fred and Daphne, and they've yet to explore a relationship in these direct-to-video movies, apart from maybe Stage Fright, and that was just a fleeting thing, then it went nowhere. So, yeah. Again, I think it should be considered part of Velma's headcanon now, but I don't want these movies to be bogged down with relationship drama from Velma and Coco, from Fred and Daphne, from, you know, anyone. So,
it wasn't about Velma having a relationship.
It was just,
it's purely about Warner Brothers allowing it and accepting it, because it's been there for 20 years.
Like, Fred had a crush on the camp counselor Jessica from Camp Scare. That's fine. Velma can have a crush on Coco, and that's also fine. So that's, like, I think, fun.
Yeah, like, they've had no issue with, like you say, giving Fred all these elaborate crushes and Daphne all these ridiculous eligible bachelors, let's say, eligible partners, shall we say.
I mean, there's gonna be people that are angry at this but are okay with what I consider a completely inappropriate thing with Daphne in the Kiss movie, but yeah, that I think is a bit dodgy, I will admit. But you know,
so ultimately the gang end up at the library where we see the chase song of the Ballroom Blitz.
La Biblioteca.
This is
mad.
Peak Halloween.
How did they do this? Like,
this is how
did they do this? This is actually incredible, because, like, I was expecting like a funny, like a good song, right? You expect chase songs at this point. And you know, the opposite of Fair is Fun was in Courage the Cowardly Dog, an original song, I think. And I loved it. I was expecting either an original song for this or just like an orchestrated score, which I would have enjoyed as well. But to come out guns blazing with Ballroom Blitz, like,
this is quite high budget for
that's ridiculous.
Scooby, you know?
Yeah, ridiculous.
It was amazing, so it was. And this is where we first see
Ballroom
the entire gang as ghosts.
Ballroom Blitz. Oh, and the scene where Daphne's kind of mirroring with her. Oh, and they made Daphne thick in this movie.
Oh, God.
Hella thick. This art style, oh man. But yeah, it's so fun. One of my favourite chase scenes of modern Scooby. In fact, it might even be my favourite, apart from maybe some from Be Cool. But, oh, Ballroom Blitz. That's like instantly like plus points.
So this is where Coco says, look, I think I can identify who it was. And they go and see the Dracula guy from the start, who, he's just sad.
He's just sad.
It's sad. And he, you know, he's trying to tell everybody he's been doing really well. And he had this really big order to the prison, at which point...
Trevor Gloom's Boutique of Doom.
At which point Coco leaves. And Dracula guy helps them make a new car. Now, from seeing this on the initial trailer and everything, my kind of thoughts were, okay, this is the mystery machine for the ghost gang.
Yeah, and again, like with Happy Halloween, I was imagining a drawn-out 10-minute segment, no disrespect to Happy Halloween, but just Mystery Machine versus what I thought was going to be called the Monstery Machine. And it was going to be a chase sequence. And I don't think what they do here is masterful, but it does give us time for another really nice song. I don't know the name of it, I don't know if it's original to this movie, but I love the song and I love the montage. I think cynically though, if, you know, we said this, like, I loved watching all the Monster of Mexico music sequence when they happened, but in hindsight reviewing it, we were like, oh, this is clearly just to boost runtime. And maybe if we were reviewing this, like say if we were introduced back into Scooby nostalgia 5 years from now, and we were reviewing this as part of a list, maybe we would have gone, okay, this is just dragging out time. But I like the moment, and they did need a new car, so it makes sense. I just like it. I don't know. I've got nothing bad to say about it. I'm very happy.
And ultimately, this new car is needed to take the gang up to the warehouse, where it is revealed that the ghouls were robots. And Coco comes out from the shadows to confess it was her.
Oh. Okay, I'm gonna say something that I don't think I told you. And people listening will know now because this is a spoiler one. So there was a clip released not ages ago, like a week and a half ago. And I tried to react to it. I recorded a reaction to it. It was blocked the first time, and I couldn't find a way to make it like available everywhere and kind of in the clear the second time. It was from the sequence of just after Coco's confession all the way up until unmasking that kind of weird guy that was with the cat.
Yeah, I remember.
Did you see it?
Yeah, you showed me.
Oh, I didn't think I showed it to you. Huh. And so
you knew.
And I was like, okay, this is going to be at the start. This is going to be a fake out reveal. And it wasn't. Like, for all the main part about this movie wasn't, oh, who did it? Like, this is the amazing reveal. It's more about the ride and what the characters learn. Surprisingly enough for a direct-to-video movie again. But it's about what the characters learn. But the fact that they gave away the villain in a clip, I think, well, why? Like,
do you think they intended for that clip to be released? Was it a leak thing?
It must have been, but it was watermarked from the official logo. Like,
but at the same time,
I'm disappointed, you know. Like, I did guess it. Well, obviously, you know, when I knew who it was, I was going, okay, how do we get there? And so when the guard was like, oh, I developed this electric thing myself, I was like, okay, he's clever. So I'm guessing what we see is robotics. So yeah, you know what? It doesn't take a genius to figure out. But I'm just saying, if I was a kid that saw that clip, and obviously the kids like the unmasking and stuff, I would have been a bit gutted going into it.
Yeah, but this is about more than the unmasking, ultimately. As you say,
there's a lot of fun that they could have had. Like, even making the mystery machine, the monstery machine, I will call it the monstery machine, would have been a cool clip. Some of the chase scene would have been a cool clip. I don't think it had to be the reveal, but like you say, it's about more than that.
Yeah, it is, because ultimately, like you say, it is revealed that it was the warden, not Coco. And then they accidentally let all the inmates out of the prison, so all the villains that Mystery Inc. have kidnapped are now, captured, are now on the loose. So here is where everybody teams up. And the gang dress up as the original villains. And can it just be said that Daphne's space kook laugh is on point?
I'm wondering how much of that was stock from Don Messick, or if they got Grey DeLisle to do the laugh. And this is the thing, right? This reminds me of one of my favourite Halloween movies, or horror movies of all time, Cabin in the Woods. All the villains getting released. And I expected it to be more of a situation where they would all, you know, kind of costume up and you'd get like an army of past villains wreaking havoc. They only really have time and possibly budget for a handful, but I think what we do get is fantastic. Like, the only one that really gets to show off their powers is the ghost clown who hypnotizes some kids and then Shaggy hypnotizes them back. I think it would have been cool to imagine a world where all of the characters in costume were just doing their thing, but I think what we get is fantastic. It's the perfect blend between nostalgia and just what's like new things as well.
Isn't it amazing how they do it, where like you've got the Black Knight taking down Mr. Wickles?
Yeah,
and like the way they've paired it up, I don't know, I just really
and it's so true to form as well. Like, I don't know if you heard, but when Velma Cutler emerges from the pool, they play like the same sound effect that they played in like the 1969 show. They kind of, and it was just, it's just fantastic. Like, it's stupid for all purpose. Like, there's nothing clever, there's nothing masterful that there is to be solved, but it's what Scooby's meant to be. It's just a 10-minute conclusion of pure fun, pure Halloween costume goodness, which is just, it's fun. It's really fun.
And then, of course, to save the day, in comes the 10,000 volt ghost, which is Coco.
And that was set up from the start.
Oh my gosh, how cool was that scene where the cat was dressed up as the miner as well?
Yeah, Miner 49er. So that would have been...
Oh my god.
That would have been Hank then, wouldn't it? Kind of knocking on that door.
And all of the, you know, inmates are recaptured.
I will say,
together.
Missed opportunity not having Sia and Star voicing Hank. That would have been cool.
What's your thoughts on... So everyone's been captured. They're going back to jail. And you get your last scene between Velma and Coco. And Velma's glasses melt and she's like, my glasses, where's my glasses?
I will admit, because of what we've seen, again, they could have stopped with the initial encounter. I was expecting a kiss. And I'm not saying I really wanted them to have one, but I was expecting it. And I was a bit thrown off that they didn't. Like, at the very least, I was expecting Coco kisses Velma on the cheek, Velma blushes, and the glasses melt away. But, you know, it's not how it turned out. It was just cute.
It's not, but it's still
it was really
a
cute.
million steps forward.
Seeing Velma, like, explore that, and it was funny as well, the fact that the glasses melt away, and then that leads on to what you'd expect from Velma losing her glasses. Like, it was just a lot of fun.
It was.
And Shaggy and Scooby get their candy.
Yes, but above all of that, Daphne and Fred have a chat. Because Daphne's mentioned a couple of times about what her position is in Mystery Inc. And it's kind of a bit sad. And she turns around to Fred and says, you know what, Fred, I think like I should be the leader now. And he said that she's always been the leader of Mystery Inc. And goes on to list all the qualities that we've actually learned to appreciate Daphne for over the years. But what's really interesting, and one reason why I think this is particularly nice at this stage, is because this movie calls back to the first series quite a lot. And having rewatched that recently, there's a lot of digs at Daphne, like Danger Prone Daphne. Oh, Daphne's been kidnapped again. And so to call back to the original and almost remedy one of the mistakes they made there, which is the treatment of Daphne, and actually applauding all the things that she's come to be known for, about staying calm, about being the people person, and Fred just saying you're the leader of Mystery Inc. For me, like, you know, we've seen like moments in Is It Stage Fright or something where Daphne and Fred have a like few like romantic connections. For me, this one moment without any romance involved is actually far more emotional than when they've been close to kissing. Or
I agree.
Like, this moment is much more poignant. Like,
they just seem like best friends, and I think you don't often see that with them. They always split off together, but they've never just shown to have that kind of relationship, and I think it's the best type that they could have really at this stage.
But one thing that I really like is that they've dialed the romance back between Fred and Daphne in this one, because quite often any of the romances that Velma's ever tried to establish have been outshone by Fred and Daphne, whereas here they've really toned them two back, built up this beautiful friends thing. Like, that moment wasn't the root of any romantic connection or chemistry, it was just purely based on friendship and emotion.
Well, if you think as well, this is the first time that Velma's had a crush on someone in a Scooby movie, like an animated one, and they've not ended up being the villain. Like, you had it with Ben Ravencroft, you had it with the pervert ranger from Camp Scare, Windsor in Legend of the Phantasaur. Every time Velma kind of gets a crush on someone in these movies, they're the ultimate villain. And obviously Coco's got a bit of a shady past, but, you know, it's kind of the first time that they've not ended badly, which is fun.
The one thing I will say is this movie ends quite oddly with the chaotic laughing. Like, it's kind of horror movie laughing, and then we see the eye.
Oh, but I like that though, because there was nothing that people knew or that assumed that was going to be mysterious about it, but the fact that it almost reminded me of like a classic Simpsons Treehouse of Horror episode. Like, it wasn't just look at this could have been real. It was just, now here's a bit of like mild shock horror. I think that was just perfect for it.
Okay, so JB, that kind of concludes on the episode. Do you feel tricked or treated?
Okay, so we've given a verdict before, but I think now we've kind of analysed it, and again, you know, people...
I'd recommend going back to see the first video as well, if you've not, because for all it's like spoiler free, it's not just the spoiler free clip. That was our initial reaction.
It's the foundation as well.
We were 10 minutes out of watching this for the first time when we did that. There's so many things we were reacting to for the first time there. It's worth seeing.
I'm just a bit worried, and I don't know why, because this is our thoughts. We shouldn't worry about other people's thoughts. But because of what they do with Velma in this, I am worried that this is going to divide people, and that there's going to be just toxic crap going on Twitter. But, you know, like,
Twitter is not going to look pretty. And bearing in mind, JB, that this has only just been released with us. So it's still 8 hours away from hitting America.
Yeah.
Twitter's not going to be the place to be in the morning. Oh, wait, well, this will be going out tomorrow night, so by now, Twitter's not going to be the place to be. Because it is going to split opinions. Like, I will openly admit that I was disgraced with some people after seeing the new Buzz Lightyear movie. When they, you know, so many people were like, it was disgusting. I can't believe they were letting my children see that. And I went to see it, and I was like, are you kidding me? Like, what is everybody getting so angry about? So there was 2 women that had like one little kiss in a movie, and you're crying that your children have been allowed to see that? Like,
but I'll say this,
I don't
right?
get it.
I think it's healthy, right? Now, people... The one thing that really annoys me is when I see this stuff happening, and the kind of comments like, oh, they're coming after our kids, they're like corrupting our kids, and it's like, if they want to do that, they're going to do it anyway. And it's like thinking me with 2002, right? I was eased into like, why am I feeling this way? Why is it having this effect? And you could explore things at your own pace, like you might not even realize it until viewing 5 or 10, right? And you can explore things at your own pace with something that is ultimately safe, right? Like, you know, there's nothing explicit in the movie, there's nothing rude in the movie. It is a family-friendly film, versus what unfortunately a lot of kids happen nowadays. They stumble upon a genuinely inappropriate, rude website, and a lot of times for kids, that's unfortunately, you know, their first experience with it. And it's like, what a horrible, traumatic way to realise that you are this way, or that you can feel a certain way. Like, that's not a healthy way to explore who you are as a person. So if it is something like this, then good, you know, great. Like, let them realise at their own rate, this is a healthy way for kids, and, you know, even, you know, people older than that to realise, maybe this explains why I'm having these thoughts, you know, or maybe not, you know, maybe not.
Or even just where their friends are coming from, if the friends are, or just socially acceptance in general, understanding other people. Because ultimately, if you're completely shielded from something, it means when it hits you eventually, it's just going to hit you harder.
Yeah. But again, this is as far as I want this to go in a movie. In a directed video movie. Maybe that's controversial. Maybe people are going to say, oh, why don't you want it to happen? Like, you know what, I just don't. You only get like so long with the characters for a movie. I don't want it to be bogged down with drama of any type.
Well,
really.
like you said, you wouldn't have been completely against them kissing at the end.
No.
But like you said, you don't want it to be a permanent relationship, because if they, you know, make it Velma's, this is gonna, please don't take this word the way it sounds. If they want to make that Velma's gimmick that she's going to be in a relationship throughout the episode, that ties her away from the gang.
Or make it mean something.
They could then, you know, once they then feel it's appropriate to reignite the Daphne and Fred relationship, that's then separated them off in a different arc. And then Shaggy and Scooby are left on their own. And then it's almost like, I don't know, kind of 2002 vibes when it went wrong at the start. But all of a sudden everyone's really quite distant.
Yeah. I think it will mean the world to a lot of people, this, and good, you know. Like, it just makes people feel heard. And again, I think that's all it needs to do. If it was Season 3 Mystery Incorporated, honestly, I wouldn't mind a whole subplot about Velma and hot dog water. And I just feel like they've handled it perfectly here. Like, and just the validation after all these years, finally, canonically, we have a Velma that can express herself, and that's just, I don't know, I like it. I like it a lot.
Well done, Warner Brothers. You finally got that.
But again, kind of hopping off the kind of like people's perception of me just being this SJW. Like, if the Velma series, the new series coming out, Mindy Kaling, is awful, genuinely, I think I'll have the worst to say about it than anyone. So keep an eye out for that.
We've said some things about Velma in the past. Like, we are not like just
Velma simps.
Yeah.
If someone accuses me of being a Velma simp in the comments, I think that'll kind of solidify the lack of research.
Like I said, go back and watch the initial reaction, because when we remembered who the voice of Velma was, there was shock.
Oh yeah, there was shock and horror, but yeah, nothing. I can't. Okay, I'm gonna try and fault this movie quickly. Again, just the title's kind of generic. That's it. And I don't have any better suggestions. That's kind of it. Something else, I would have preferred the villain Scooby dressed up as would have been more recognisable. I think Gator Gull would have been a better option. For all they're not iconic by any means, they are more recognisable from the cyber chase.
But it was calling back to the start of the movie.
Yeah. So, I guess that concludes the latest Scooby Doo movie. Like, I had a lot of fun with this. If you guys have seen Trick or Treat, which you should have if you're watching this, then please comment down below what you'd give it out of 10, or if it tricked you or treated you. That's the kind of thing we're kind of running with at the moment. So yeah, if you do want to see more reviews like this, then please like, comment and subscribe. I will say we may or may not have some Trick or Treat themed interviews in the works, so subscribe to that, stay hyped, and guess who in the comment section down below. So yeah, please like, comment and subscribe.
JP and Millie.